Happy Family Day. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited to be speaking with you guys today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Maria Harrigan, and this is my husband, Brian Harrigan.
Hello.
And, and we're really just going to share our journey and some tips that we have found have really worked well for us. And, just share that it's a process of growth, and you just learn to do things as you go, and it just gets easier and better and stronger, and it's really cool. So a little bit about myself. Before I did the Juice Plus business, I still am a singer and a dancer, and then also my main source of income at the time, once I was doing that at home, was waitressing. And so I really didn't look at this business until I realized that I couldn't continue teaching and singing and dancing full time and also raise a family and have time with my husband and kids at the same time. So I knew I had to look for a different path.
Yeah. So for those that don't know me, I've been in the oil industry for about 12 years, all with the same company, and I have the position of an operations manager. So that's what I've known for the last 12 years. I also have just last year I started up a personal finance blog. So that's fairly new to us. But and then I guess the Juice Plus, I've been part of that now for 3 years. And just key to all three is, you got to have clear communication on all levels. It doesn't matter what really role you're in. So.
Yeah, perfect. And, like Brian said in the beginning, when I first joined this business, it was probably the communication that we were really lacking. I dove into this, and he didn't really know what I was getting into. He didn't know why I was getting into it. And he really was just worried and just unsure. And really, even just yesterday, we were communicating about some goals and things that I'm working towards. And I had mentioned to Brian how having a six-figure income is something personally that I've really wanted to strive for all my life, and that it was something that just would make me feel like I could stand on my own 2 feet. And it's not that I don't feel like we can get by right now. It's just something that I really wanted to achieve for myself. And Brian at first right away was like, well, it shouldn't be about the money. It shouldn't be that dollar sign that you find defines you. And I just said to him, well, what if your whole life up until right now, you had never made more than 30 grand in one single year? How much would it mean to you to all of a sudden make 100 grand compared to that 30 grand? How much would that be like, oh my gosh, I did that? And as soon as I said that, it was like a light bulb went on, and we all of a sudden had really clear communication because he understood where I was coming from. And so, it's just something that we've learned to do. When I feel like he doesn't quite hear where I'm coming from, or he thinks that I'm not hearing, we go into depth of why. Where am I coming from? Why is this so important to me? So, yeah, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so, sorry, my throat's a little scratchy. So, yeah, when Maria got into this business, I'll admit I wasn't fully on board. I had my own walls that came up. Networking businesses to me never really stuck out to me. I didn't think we needed the money. I was a little bit selfish when it came to, well, how am I going to go to my hockey games, and how are we going to, raise a family, be there together and make meals together? It's always a challenge, right? As it is. So, those type of things came up. And then over the next 6 months, really, I watched Maria. She seemed happier. She was, she had a lot more friends, and she was getting out a lot more. And at that point, I kind of just realized that it's not necessarily about me. It's about both of us. So I jumped on board myself and decided to join the business as well. And yeah, 3 years later, here we are. So
yeah, and you know what though, what I've learned is that Brian's support comes in so many different forms. It could be that he's at events with me. It could be that he is sharing Juice Plus with people. And it could also be that I just know that I don't have to worry about childcare because he's going to be able to make a sacrifice. Even if he had a hockey game, he has stayed home for me so that I could do an event because he knows what this means to me. And really, when those worries first came up, it was really about protecting me. And that's something that I really encourage everyone to think about. If you ever have a significant other that it like just doesn't seem like they're supporting you or they're not on board, it's usually about them just trying to protect you because they love you. And Brian's experience with network marketing was not good, and I hadn't had any experience with it. So he just, all he could remember was that it didn't work for him in the past. And so he was worried about that, and he was just worried that I wasn't going to be as present in our family life, which was not the goal with this. And we know that this business actually allows us to be really flexible with that. But all of those things that had kind of come up were really just about protecting me because he loved me and still loves me. Yes. So anyways, the main thing though was that until I was very certain, he was not very certain. When I was uncertain and kind of like half in, half out, he also was very wary. The second it was about 6 months in when I hit SC, and I said to Brian, you know, I think I can really do this. I think I can go for SSC, and I want to do that in a year, and like I just really want to go for it. That was when he was like, okay, let's do this. We're all in together. It was when I fully 110% committed. And I think it's important to remember that our loved ones will support us 110% when we are all in and they know that we're all in.
yeah, and I think it's if you look at it this way too, when Maria first started the business, I said it wasn't about the money. I could care less about the money. Now I care about the money. Like, it's just funny how it changes, right? All of a sudden, you know, the income gets better and better and better, and then you start thinking like, what if I could retire early? What if I could work part-time and actually pursue what I want to pursue? Because a lot of people are in jobs that they don't necessarily love. I'm one of them. So I think that's really important, that the money does come. It takes some time. But eventually, when it comes, it starts coming very quickly. So work your business and keep working your business, because if you don't work it, that money ain't going to grow. So
for sure. And I had to follow through on what I was saying I was going to do. So when I put intentions out there and goals, and we were communicating and we were deciding that there may be sacrifices here and there for us to reach those goals, he needed to know that I was going to hold up my end of the bargain, and I needed to know that he was going to support me 110%. And, you know, try our best not to make little underhanded comments, or, you know, in those moments when maybe the house has gotten away from me, or maybe, you know, he had to miss hockey, or whatever the reason was, or maybe it was that I couldn't do a meeting when I wanted to because he had something going on. Regardless, we just had to decide to communicate with each other and be on the same page and be about supporting each other instead of being against each other. And also, you know, Jolynn had spoken about that story that you can kind of tell yourself, and that's really huge. I can't even stress how huge that is, because even just the other night, I was feeling really overwhelmed. I was feeling like the house had completely gotten away from me. And in my head, the story I was telling myself was that I wasn't good enough at anything. I was not taking care of the house. I was doing a bad job at that. I was doing a bad job with my business. I was doing a bad job as a mother. I was doing a bad job as a wife. That's what I was feeling. And that's in my head what I thought Brian was thinking of me. But that was not the case, obviously. But in that moment, that was the story I was telling myself. And the second I communicated that with Brian, he was just like, no, what are you talking about? I know that you're working towards this goal right now, and that needs to be so important, and I will help you out with the house, and it's all going to be okay. And all of a sudden that story just completely dissipated because I called it out and we communicated about it. I'm going to repeat myself 20 million times because just talking to each other is so, so important. So we're going to just go into a few different tips that we have found have really helped us a lot. Do you want to talk about the first one?
Yeah, so I guess the first one would be just developing some vision goals. So I'm really into this. I think that detail is key. So I would start off with like a long-term plan. This could be 10, 15 years. Just think outside the box a little bit, outside. And when you're developing these goals, think of like what you really want. Like, well, if you had all the time and all the money in the world, what would your goals, what would your vision look like? So I know it's difficult to do at times, but just sit there and really think about it, and just ideas will sprout out. Start writing them down, and I would start there.
Yeah, we all kind of forget how to dream. We don't know how to think about, really, where would you be if you could be anywhere? And if money and time were no object, we could bring anyone with us, like it could just be amazing. If we wanted to go travel the world and have a tutor travel with us, we could do that. If money and time were no object, so it's really the sky is the limit. What would your ideal life look like? And just being able to actually envision that is first and foremost.
Yeah, and as Brett says there, I think he said beach and yoga or something. Is that Sarah?
Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet. That's a good way to probably start your day.
Mm-hmm.
So next, I would say you would have to just break down your vision on a 5-year plan. So obviously now that you kind of have an idea what you want to achieve long term, you have to start kind of detailing what that looks like and where do you need to be in 5 years so that in 10 or 15 years you're hitting those goals. So I think Maria wants to go a little bit more in depth on those visions possibly.
Yeah, so maybe that means that in 5 years you want to make that your national marketing director goal, just because if you are just hitting an MD in 5 years, well, in 10 years, where are you going to be? And maybe it's that you are investing alongside of this business, and it could be so many different things, but there's stepping stones to get there. But there should be at the halfway point a major goal that's marking that clear, like halfway point to that big goal.
Yeah, and then I think the most important one of them all is the 1-year goal. So now that you've determined your long-term goal, your 5-year goal, now it's time to like literally look what that looks like right in front of you right now. So start writing down, essentially you kind of have an idea 5 years out, what do I need to do this year? And when you set these goals, set them like steps. I always like to look at them once a month, or actually you want to look at them every single day, but you want to review them once a month. So I always, how I kind of look at when I set mine are up here in the office here, is it's one step at a time. You can't go 3 steps ahead. It just doesn't work that way. So it's going to take time, but set those small goals because they're the most important ones. And then again, once you're done that 1 year, then you follow up with another 1 year. Okay, now that I've measured to this spot, I need to move to another year. And you continue to do that and do that and do that, and you will hit those 5-year and those long-term goals.
Yeah, and as Brene Brown has said repeatedly in the book I'm listening to right now, is you can't skip day two. You know, the hard stuff that comes in between, you have to go through, you have to walk through that, and you have to experience that. And the biggest thing is to be able to pick yourself up when things maybe don't go your way. Maybe after one particular month, you completely miss the mark. You have to be able to look back at it, assess what happened, and then move forward. And just the faster you can pick yourself back up and move forward from, you know, rolling around in the mud when we're upset about something, the more you're going to just keep moving forward. And also, that's really important when we're leading a team. You know, if they see us managing those disappointments and you know, being honest that we are disappointed, this is really hard, this is not a fun day for me, but I'm going to just brush it off. I'm going to maybe meditate and let it go, and I'm going to move on. That's powerful because they're going to see that they can do that the more that we show them that we can do that. So that's really powerful.
Yeah, and you may not always hit your goals. It's just reality sometimes. Like you might set 15 goals for the year. If you hit 12 of them, you have to be positive about it. And those other 3, you're going to hit them. It might take a couple extra months into the next year, but don't stay down on yourself. Just go, okay, you know what? I accomplished over 80% of the goals that I set out in front of me. And it's actually proven that if you actually write down your goals, that you have a 46% better chance of completing those goals if you write them down. So yeah, set your goals.
And it's proven that the more that you're striving to live outside of your boundaries and outside of that comfort zone, that guess what? You're going to fail more, but you're going to succeed even more. You know, the people that really succeed have failed way more times than the people that have never tried, you know? So that's a big one, you know, having clear goals, clear steps. I like to call them promises to myself instead of goals, because I feel like I'm more accountable to myself when I say that. So whatever verbiage works for you. The other thing that we have incorporated into our lives, because we used to double book ourselves all the time. So the only way that we worked around that was to have a joint calendar. So we use the Google Calendar, but you might have an iPhone calendar that's joined like that, whatever works for you. But I had to get around myself in the way that I really like a paper agenda. And guess what? That's really hard for us to be on the same page. And I still use a paper agenda, but I still take the time to put things into my phone that pop up for Brian so that he knows what I have going on and I know when he has things going on. And sometimes we still are double booked, but then we can find a babysitter if we need to, or make a sacrifice if we need to, whatever that needs to look like. That is huge. And again, it's just another communication tool. And then the third tip is no assumptions. No assumptions about what the other person is thinking. You can't get in their head. You don't know what they're thinking. You just have to say, hey, this is the story I'm telling myself. This is what I'm thinking you're thinking. Can you please tell me what you're actually thinking so that we can be on the same page? Because you just have to talk to each other. And most of the time, it is just not what you think it is at all.
And Maria likes to talk a little bit more than I do. So sometimes she'll just look at me and think I'm mad or whatever the case is. But it's really good if you talk to each other, because if she feels that way, I like when she communicates to me, because I am a little bit of a still face. I don't always show impression. So try to show a little smile every once in a while.
Yeah, you know, and the other thing that really helped us is the 5 love languages. That book is incredible. And what I also learned is that the way I show my affection and support is completely different than the way that Brian shows his support and affection. You know, I'm very verbal. I will give him positive affirmations constantly. Brian's an acts of service kind of guy. He's going to take out the trash because he knows I hate taking out the trash, but he's saying I love you when he's taking that trash out. So just being aware of that. And, you know, that really brings me to the fact that this business really is a personal development course disguised as a business. I'm sure we have all heard this before, but it's huge for us because we've really developed over this last 3.5 years a lot. And it's just like Brian never even thought about having an investing blog or a website until we were driving to the Honey Badger retreat at the lake, and I put in the 4-year career. And had I not put that in, that thought wouldn't have even come into our heads. And it's led us down a completely different path. And you can tell a little bit about what happened recently.
Yeah, so I guess just in close, this business is really about growing as an individual as well as a couple. It actually brings you together in different ways. And at the same time, literally some of the events that go on and what comes from that, maybe some of the, there's a one book per month, I don't know what you call it, topics that, you read the book and
Honey Badger University, yeah.
Yeah, the Honey Badger University. And that stuff is so key in just growing yourself as an individual and understanding how your partner thinks and maybe their visions and respecting that. So I think that's very important. Maria had went to a event in Calgary around Christmas time, and it probably wasn't the best time to go, but she really wanted to go, so we made it work, and she traveled down there. I think she went with Sarah and some of the other girls there. And an event came up where possibly there was an investing group that was a workshop, that was being put on about a month and a half from when they were at that. And, normally around that time I was like, nah, let's probably not do this. But then when I had to think about it for a second, I was like, it's investing, it's like, hey, we're making an income from Juice Plus. How can we grow this money that we're making to the higher levels, right? So it was really one of those things that didn't matter about the money. If we even got something out of it, it would be, crucial for us. So we went to this event in Calgary, and it was a learning curve for Maria. I think a lot of it was Chinese for her to start. At the beginning, the first day, I think she was rolling her eyes and maybe messaging some of her friends a little bit saying, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for? But it ended up being really good for both of us. Some of the stuff that I thought I knew, it really taught me that, okay, you got to dig deeper into, the investing strategy that I'm currently doing right now.
It humbles you.
And it gave Maria that opportunity to kind of see what I've been doing outside of the business to help, grow our to our long-term plan there. So, yeah.
Yeah, and really we surprise each other all the time now, and we live beyond what we think our highest potential is, and it just grows higher and higher, and it's really, really neat to see that in each other, because if you had asked me 3.5 years ago if I'd be doing the kinds of things that I'm doing now, I would tell you you're a little nuts. But yeah, it's been really, really amazing, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and life is going to be really exciting. We love this, and we're so happy to share with you. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.